and welcome to another episode of Dirty Bernie's Garage. Today we're going to be doing part 2 of Will It Run video on this Kohler engine. I turned around today earlier. I went ahead and washed this thing down a little bit. And I'm going to give you guys a close-up of what's going on here before we even start on this. So we'll bring you over here for a second. I would love nothing better than to have a camera crew, filming this whole thing, but unfortunately we don't have that problem right now. Anyway, here's a quick overview of the deck itself. I am actually highly impressed in how clean this deck actually is. Now, as I said last night, the transmission's missing, the drive belt and all that's missing. I'm really not going to be using this deck, but I may stash it for something else in the future. I don't know. Anyway, but what we're going to start off with, we got right here. We got some 4 bolts holding it's more of a cosmetic thing than anything. We have, I don't know if you can see them or not, right here and right here is a couple bolts that hold the gas tank on. And might as well pop this cover off now and get it over with. We're basically going to be taking the top end of this engine apart, and we're going to take a look at everything involved with it to see what's going on. See what kind of shape it's really in and whatnot. We're gonna have 2 bolts here and here. The nice thing about these Kohlers is everything's 10 millimeter. So it's very easy to get at, So we're gonna go ahead and set you back over here, and we're gonna go ahead and take this thing apart real quick and take a look and see what we got. And once I get that apart, I will have the camera back at you, and we're gonna take a look and see what's going on. So these are little star bit things here. Of course, that's not gonna stay there with the way I want it to, because that's just how it is. Alright, so that's gonna come off as such. You're gonna have 3 10 millimeter bolts holding the pull starter and the cover itself on. Like I said, 10 millimeter is your friend on one of these engines. Kind of funny to see me actually working in one of these videos. You don't see a whole lot of that. I like to talk a lot, but as far as the work goes, yeah, well, I do plenty of it, but I just don't film a lot of it. But truth be told, I'm a one-man show in this garage. So any work done in this garage is performed by me. So, somebody's got to do it. You gotta pop the gas cap off to get this cover here off. Slide your little thing there through that. And we'll set this over here for a minute. these engines are actually a very, very nice engine to work on, just because of the fact that it comes apart so easy. Alright. So you start losing pieces, but that's alright. Now we're gonna go ahead and take our, we're gonna take a carburetor plate off that I was telling you about, the two 10mm bolts. And then we're gonna start giving you a little overview of what's going on here. That way I'd like to kind of show you what goes on inside of one of these engines also, not just the fact will it run, and all that. Because there's a little bit more to a lawnmower engine than just cleaning it and whatnot. So I'd rather show you, kind of give you an idea of what's up with it. Alright, so I lied, there's 3 bolts that hold this cover on there. Alright. Boy, this carburetor is a little more difficult than I would have, than the last one I worked on, I'll give it that much. But I'll give you a shot of it in a second here. Alright, we'll set this over there. Alright, so it's Alright, so this is the part I really wanted to show you before we get too much further into this. This carburetor's got what's called an automatic choke. And I wanted to give you an idea of what actually goes on with an automatic choke. Now, right here, it's your actual choke plate. You want this thing closed when the engine is cold. Okay, what that basically does is that's going to give you minimal air into your carburetor as it's when the engine's trying to start. Okay, and that is a common problem on a lot of engines. Now, all right, where was I? So basically that thing's gonna be, it's gonna be shut when you actually first start this engine. Now when your throttle opens just a tad, it's going to actually open that choke up just a little bit. And you go over here, this is called your thermostat. It's actually attached to the muffler itself, so the heat from the engine is what will, it basically activates it. And what it's going to do is it's going to pull the little arm and actually make it, this one's a little different from what I'm used to, I'm sorry. Usually it would pull the arm. This style here, it's going to actually push the, if you look, that little thing there, that's going to open your choke. And that is from this thermostat. It's actually heat activated from the muffler itself. And I am very sorry. This is a terrible explanation of this, only because this is a system that I have not worked on yet. It's a little different from the last Kohler I did. I'm guessing it's a little newer or whatever. But that's basically what goes on with it. Your thermostat is actually opens, and it opens the choke as the engine heats up. Now another thing I wanted to show you real quick. I had mentioned that this mower does not have a blade brake cable. So this is what that is. Okay, your cable is gonna hook into the end here. It's gonna latch into the piece here. Now when you pull that handle up top, what it does is gonna pull this piece back like so. Now you're gonna notice you have a little pad here that rests on the actual flywheel. That's called your brake. Now this thing does two functions. Not only does, when you pull that handle, does it actually release the brake off to the flywheel, but you're gonna notice you got some wires here. These wires are, well, one of them's connected to the coil. What happens when this blade, when this switch is down all the way as such, it grounds out the coil, so you have no spark to your ignition. So this particular unit, you know, it carries two fairly important functions. So it's very important that it actually is working correctly. Unfortunately, I do not have the right cable for this mower. And also, as I said in last night's video, I'm not going to be keeping this deck. So for tonight, what I'm going to be doing, I'm going to take a tie wrap, I'm going to go through here, and we're going to just pull it like so against this bracket to open that switch, so that, you know, I'm going to pretty much disable it just for running purposes. And when it's time to shut the engine off, we will go ahead and I'll just cut the tie wrap, and that'll kill it. Now when this engine goes on the correct deck, we will have a functioning cable to it. But here's your ignition coil. Now the next thing we're gonna do, we're gonna pop this cover off the flywheel. We wanna make sure this thing does not have a shared flywheel key. One thing I didn't mention in last night's video, when this mower got here, I did look under it. It did not have a blade on it. So we want to make sure, you know, the blade was missing for apparently for a reason. They may have just stole it for another mower or whatever. But, you know, obviously it was missing, and we want to make sure that there wasn't an issue with the engine. You know, I need to know why this thing is in the scrapyard rather than out mowing your lawn. So we're gonna go ahead and pop this cup off and take a look at a flywheel key real quick. So if you wanna hold on a second, we'll go ahead and do that. Nice. There we go. All right, what did I do with that? Oh, there it is. Alright, so we're gonna pop this cup off of here real quick, take a look under there and see what's, make sure we don't have a sheared flywheel, okay? It's actually starting to look like we may have a sheared flywheel, Kay. Take a real quick look at that. Very hard to see, but it kind of looks like it's rounded off a little bit. I'm going to shut this down for a second, and we're going to go ahead and pop this flywheel off and see what's going on with it. And then I'll get right back to you with that. All right, we're back with this one. Unfortunately, well, I was actually wrong on this. It's your flywheel key right here, which is an absolutely perfect shape. I'm really starting to think this engine and this mower is a little bit older than I thought it was. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and set the flywheel back on the shaft so you may be able to see what I was seeing. And great. Alright, let me twist this just a little bit, like so. That way the magnet was actually hitting the coil. Alright, so now on a Briggs & Stratton, your flywheel key would normally be sticking up top. You could actually see the edge of it on the edge of the flywheel. On this engine, unfortunately, it is not doing that. So it kind of throws you off a little bit. But as I said, I am no guru on Kohler engines. So that was the issue. The flywheel key is fine. Another thing I want to show you real quick is a setup on Kohler that I really like. I ended up pulling the carburetor off of this thing. Now, Kohler is a lot like a Honda engine, but I mean the design's a lot like it, but it's a little bit different. Now on a Kohler, you're gonna have these studs sticking out. Makes life excellent for when you're doing carburetor work on these things. Now these have the studs. Now a Honda actually has bolts that go through, and you're gonna have your breather box, a gasket, your carburetor, another gasket, the little block off plate, and another gasket, and all your linkages. You have to actually hold all this together while trying to thread the bolts into the block. And I'll tell you right now, if I had 3 hands, that'd be great. Okay, I'm lucky to have 2 hands right now. So this setup with the studs is much, much easier. But a lot of this, I'm seeing a lot of things on this engine that are telling me that it's a lot older than I thought it was. And again, I don't know a lot about Kohler engines, so go ahead and put you over here to the carburetor. Okay. Now, one thing something here that I noticed, right here, you got a vacuum port on the carburetor itself, which runs over to your, I don't know exactly the word to call it, but this piece that runs a choke is actually vacuum operated. I know it's very hard to say, and I'm sorry about that, but normally these chokes are mechanically operated by the throttle. Now this one actually reminds me of an older car. Basically what's gonna go on, you're gonna have your vacuum coming from the port. It's gonna suck this rod right here in and open a choke just a little bit. And then your thermostat will actually take it and go from there, you know, with the heat and everything, will actually open it up. Now, what I'm kind of curious here. This is an older carburetor. So we're gonna go ahead and pop this float bowl off of here and see what's going on with it. Yeah, okay, that don't look too promising. Yeah, alright, that's what I thought. Alright. Sadly, this two-part video just turned into a three-part. This is an older carburetor. As you can see, we got all sorts of rust in the float bowl. As well as the carburetor body and everything. Now, 95% of the small engine community right now would be like, just change that carburetor, get rid of it. I'm old school. We don't do that. Luckily, I had the best mentors that could ever be. These guys taught me how to rebuild carburetors that sat underwater for years. I mean, back then the internet wasn't even around back then. We did not replace carburetors. Now, in a pinch, you may have to replace a part off of one, but normally you would have a stack of carburetors laying around, which I do the same practice today. I mean, I will go to when I go to the scrapyard, if I see a mower sitting there that's dead, you know, the carburetor looks decent, I'll pull it. Take it home, throw it in a bucket, and when I need the pieces, I got it. 95% of the carburetors I do not need new parts. I can take parts off of something else and put them on there. So, yes, that carburetor does not need to be replaced. I can honestly say, in my life, now, I'm going to contradict myself a little bit here. The trimmers, chainsaws, you know, the smaller two-stroke stuff, yes, by all means, replace the carburetor. Don't even play with it. I mean, but push mowers, riding mowers, tillers, blah, blah, blah. I can honestly say I've never replaced the carburetor yet. Now, I may use some used parts off another one. I may buy some new parts here and there, yes. But I have never, ever bought a new, especially these Chinese things. But I have never once bought a brand new carburetor for any of these bigger machines. And I will continue that practice, hopefully for the rest of my days, because that's the way I was taught. Anyway, now, tomorrow we're going to get into this carburetor, where I'm going to show you guys how to actually do this thing the right way. I'm going to soak it overnight a little bit, and we will go from there. So I hope you all have a great night.